Today I'm going for a run in the Kinvara 11. 7.48 miles, 9 minutes, 2 seconds per mile, 144 beats per minute, getting in an early morning run around Lady Bird Lake here in Austin, Texas, and taking with me the Kinvara 11. Now, before I get into my detailed thoughts about this shoe, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that was sent to me for the purpose of review by Roadrunner Sports. However, they're not paying me to make this video or to wear this shoe, and no one's going to get a chance to preview this footage before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. Now, this isn't actually the first run that I've run in the Kinvara 11. I brought this shoe down with me for this trip down to Austin. It's actually, I think, like my third or maybe even my fourth run. My first run was that 20-mile adventure where I got lost through a lot of trails. Now, this isn't a trail shoe, but I got lost and I couldn't really help it. So I took it on a variety of surfaces. The area around here, around Lady Bird Lake, which I don't know that it's actually a lake. I think it's a river. That aside, it's beautiful. It's got a lot of dirt road that's hard packed, so it's nice and firm, but still softer than pavement. There is some paved portions, and it is a little bit undulating. I wouldn't call it hilly, I wouldn't call it rolling, but it does kind of have some variation in an elevation, and there were a couple of hills that I did run up and down. Nothing major, but enough to really keep things interesting. It's an absolutely beautiful area to run around. And I really enjoyed having this shoe with me for a couple of reasons. I think kind of the headline for me though on this shoe is that this doesn't remind me of the Kinvaras that I've experienced in the past at all. Now, previously I ran in the Kinvara 9 and I thought it was a very capable, very fast shoe. It's a shoe that I used kind of like I would use a turbo, which is something for my shorter, faster days. Yes, people can run longer distances in them, but the way I really liked using it was like if I was gonna go do some faster mile repeats, or if I was gonna do a track day, that's the kind of shoe that I would bring with me. But what always bothered me about that shoe was this stuff that they got going on in the arch. I think the way that they call it is they call it like that hint of stability, where I feel like there's just a little bit more stiffness right here on the medial side of each shoe that makes it like a pseudo stability shoe. And what ended up happening for me in the Kinvara 9 that I ran in was that it, after a while, started sending kind of impacts up my leg and it bothered my knee. The same thing that happens anytime that I run in a stability shoe for more than like a run or two. Then when I got the shoe, I saw this and the way that the foam is shaped here, and I thought, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like this shoe, but I thought I would give it a shot. I'd bring it down to me for Austin for a weekend of running. And as soon as I started running with it, I didn't have to worry about a thing at all. I love running in this shoe, and it's not because it reminds me of other Kinvaras. It's probably because it doesn't remind me of other Kinvaras. So PWRRRUN foam is a new foam that Saucony is releasing across a lot of their product line for this year. And I've experienced it already in terms of PWRRRUN Plus in the Triumph 17. And I thought that that shoe was really great. It's still currently in my rotation and is one of my favorite shoes to run in. This Triumph 17 is all PWRRRUN Plus, which I found to be both cushioning, but also a little bit bouncy. So a very nice sensation to have for that shoe, which I consider more of a max cushion or a longer distance shoe. This shoe has, if I'm understanding it correctly, regular PWRRRUN without the plus as the majority of the midsole, and then a top layer of PWRRRUN Plus to make it feel a little bit more cushioned, I think, as you're running on it. So the regular PWRRRUN isn't as cushioned, so it gives you a little bit more of that responsiveness. And so what I ended up feeling with this shoe is that it felt like a shoe that really wanted me to be up on the toes. and it was a 4mm heel drop shoe coming in at 7.8 ounces. So not the lightest shoe, and I don't think it's as light as the Kinvara 9 that I reviewed, but still relatively lightweight. And there is a softness to it. It's almost like there's an ortho light sock liner in here. I don't think that there is, but it feels like you're running on like ortho light, so it's something that's really squishy, but you're also not getting muddled in it, which is something that happens in, say, like older Ultra Boost, where you just kind of like sink into the shoe and then it's like you're sucking your foot back out of it in order to get to the next step. I didn't feel any of that at all, so I just got a really nice, comfortable landing, and I was able to still keep the leg turnover relatively high. Not that today was a tempo day, it was an easy run kind of day, but I was able to get through the gait cycle really easy, pretty effortless, and just made this shoe an absolute pleasure to run in. In terms of the upper material, they've got what is kind of familiar to me in terms of what Saucony makes in their uppers. It reminds me a lot of the Ride ISO 2. There's a little bit of padding back here in the heel, and there's some structure kind of in the heel cup area. There's like a hard material back here to make sure everything stays locked down and in place, and then there's this extra material all around the periphery that also is kind of contribute to making sure that heel stays in the back of the shoe and you don't get that slip out feeling. Ultimately, I felt like all of this was working real well together, especially the two foams. The upper felt super nice and comfortable, kind of laced up the shoe and it got out of my way. I didn't feel any problem with this at all so far. I'll update with it after the 100-mile review, but so far I've got a little bit over 30 miles in the shoe already, and I'm not feeling any issue. I don't even feel this at all, at least not when I'm running. When you're walking around in this shoe, so I wore it to the airport and I commuted like all over using this shoe, and the walking feeling sensation in this is really weird. It's uncomfortable. In the heel, I feel like I'm stepping on something that's in my shoe. It's like something someone put like a little piece of extra fabric or something underneath the heel, so I feel like I'm stepping on it, and the transition down to like the midfoot and forefoot area is super awkward. But none of these things I notice when I'm running. It's just like the slip-on, the initial like trying it on in the shoe store kind of thing. It's gonna feel weird. It feels like a shoe that's not right. There's something like wrong with how it's constructed. Make sure you get onto a treadmill, or at least if it's a shoe store that lets you run around the block, give that a shot and try that, because the running sensation, all those weirdnesses completely disappear, and it's a fun shoe to run in. In terms of the outsole, you're running on mostly exposed foam. There's little like hints of rubber here way at the toes and way in the back here where you might be landing if you're more of a midfoot or a rear foot striker. That's where these are the areas. This is the area that I do get most of the wear. A lot of my wear in the midfoot is going to be around here, so it'll be interesting to see kind of like how that holds up for me once I get to Chicago, where I'm mostly on pavement again. Definitely looking forward to putting more miles into this. I'll still be keeping an eye on that like hint of stability that Saucony puts in this shoe, but so far for this year, this is the second Saucony shoe that I run in, the second PWRRRUN shoe that I've run in, and I just think that it's a real hit. This is something that I'm very excited about and been having a great time running in it. If you have any other questions about the Kinvara 11 at this point, feel free to leave in the comments down below. I'd love to talk to you guys about it a little bit more down there. And before I go, I do want to remind you guys about the charity runner of the week. This week, it's Ramon Bautista, who's going to be shooting for his 6th star. And this time, he's raising money for NORD, the National Organization for Rare Disorders. I was happy to donate $70 of my own money to his fundraising efforts, and Unived has stepped up to support one of the members of the running community as well. There's a promo code down in the description, so if you've been looking for some Unived products anyway, at least from the US, you'll get 5% off, and 5% will go to the Charity Runner of the Week. They did it last week, and they're going to continue supporting Charity Runners of the Week through the end of the month, so thank you so much to Unived. If that's a product you've been considering anyway, please use the promo code, so that way not only do you get a discount, but we can also help support our fellow runners. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
Yo, what's going on?